Thanks. So this is a perspective paper, and it's about how we might be able to evaluate reports that have been generated by a machine. So what is a report? Well, it's a text that satisfies some complex information need. Here are a few. For example, the third one there. I am a student of astronomy and have been following the Voyager missions for some time. I'm writing a report about what the Voyager missions discovered in interstellar space. The report needs to describe the operational capabilities and scientific findings of the Voyager probes in interstellar space. So this is, it's not a particularly long description, but it does specify a report that will be quite detailed. So you feed that into your favorite LLM, and it spits out something like this. Is this any good? How do you know? How are we going to evaluate this? The RAG community is sort of moving in this direction, right? The multi-document summarization community is moving in this direction. But none of them has really gotten there yet. So this is the task we set for ourselves. Try to figure out some way to evaluate the quality of this kind of report. There are several philosophical leanings that have guided the development of our methodology. The first is an IR bias. Now, of course, we're IR researchers, so that makes sense. But report generation relies on access to a large document collection. And so we might as well borrow from the field that has spent the most time accessing large document collections. Second, the purpose of the evaluation. It's been very standard in information retrieval for the purpose of an evaluation to be able to distinguish systems, not to give you an absolute measure of the performance of whatever it is you're measuring. And we're cleaving to the same idea. And one of the advantages of it is that if you have errors in your test data, then you don't, it doesn't affect the evaluation unless those errors are handled differently by different systems. So it reduces some of the problem of errors in the test data. Third, human preferences. There are no true answers to what should go into a report. Everything is opinion. So we want to try to capture that. And that actually leads us right into the fourth one, which is reusability. The best collections are going to be reusable, right? If you can only use it the first time you build the collection, then you've made some progress, but you don't have a tool that you can use over time. So, pardon me. Sorry, this is, okay. So just as we, with QRELs, we use QRELs to capture human judgments about relevance, we're going to use a mechanism to try to capture human judgments about what goes into a good report. There are a few seats here if folks want to come in. Okay, finally, generalizable. We don't want to just have an evaluation that can tell you how good a report written off of English Newswire is, right? We really want to be able to use different kinds of documents, and I'll talk at the very end about how we are using this in a pilot to evaluate reports that have been built off of other languages. Oh, and tomorrow the LM eval workshop will also be looking at how this methodology might be automated, which will further help the reusability. Okay, let's look at the task we're trying to evaluate. It's report writing. We're going to have a report request. This is some detailed information about what you want in the report. And it will contain at least a user story, which sort of gives the background for the report, and it will have a problem statement, which is akin to a Trek narrative, right? It tells in detail what the contents of the report is supposed to be. So that's what in addition to the document collection, that's what the users get, and they have to build a report. The report is, in the way we set it up, is going to be in the same language as the report request. It's going to contain the information about that it's supposed to be talking about in sentence form. So we're going to evaluate at the sentence level. It should only express facts that are found in the documents. Okay. Now this is one use case, right? Another use case is you're using an LLM. You don't care where the information comes from. The LLM memorizes it from somewhere, and you're fine with it in your report. We're really interested in the IR side, so we only want to look at reports that cite the documents that contain the information they're reporting. So these little green things are citations to documents. Okay. Say we want to evaluate. What are our criteria? Well, first, the report has to be responsive to the report request. So in evaluating, we're going to have to somehow map between the report request and what the report is saying. The reported information must be attested in the document collection. That is, somewhere in the document collection has to say what that sentence is saying. So here we have a report, here's a document, and if we can match those two, then we would know that condition holds. Third, the report has to properly cite those documents, right? So we're going to, each sentence is going to have a citation after it that shows exactly which document. Now, you can modify this evaluation to point to sentences or paragraphs or whatever. We're starting at the document level. Okay, but there's actually something missing here, which is that there's no way to go between the document and the report request. Right, so we're going to need some way to do that. And we're going to do that with what we are calling nuggets. And we call them nuggets because they've been called nuggets elsewhere in the Trek QA track and so on. A nugget is a combination of a question that reflects the report request and an answer that comes from a document. So let's look at a little more closely at some of these nuggets. These are a few examples. So the nuggets really drive the evaluation. They capture human preferences in the same way that QRELs capture human preferences about relevance. Right? So this is where we're capturing that. Here's an example, the first example. What was detected when the probes crossed the heliosphere boundary? That comes right from the report request that we saw before. And there are several different answers coming from different documents. And we're going to verify that a report contains those answers. Okay. Now, these nuggets are only for evaluation. They are, the report generator will never see them. Okay? They're only there so that we can evaluate the mapping between the documents and the report request. The reports, therefore, never point to the nuggets. They don't even know they're there. Okay, when you get the assignment, you only get the report request. You will not see the nuggets. Okay, so they're just for evaluation. We think that expressing these nuggets in question-answer form is novel, and it's going to help us with reusability. Okay. So there are two things we have to do. We have to build the collection, and then we have to score the reports. Okay? So to build the collection, it's pretty similar to building other information retrieval collections, track collections. You identify a topic, search for relevant documents, ask if the topic is likely acceptable. Topics that have many answers, or topics that have very few relevant documents, while that's a perfectly fine use case in the real world, for an evaluation it doesn't help because you can't distinguish systems with either of those. So when the assessor is convinced that this is going to be likely to be a good topic, they create the report request, which includes those two pieces I said there. There may be other things like constraints on temporal constraints, or any other like background on the topic that you don't want the report to have to repeat. So there could be other things in here, but they create that. And then, okay. All right, do it this way. There, that works, okay. Then we have them write a sample report. Now, this is not a requirement of the methodology, but we've found that it helps them to do the other parts of the task. So identifying the nugget questions, searching for relevant documents, extracting the nugget answers. So this is a high-level view of how we build a test collection. 3 minutes, okay. Next, we have to try to evaluate the sentences. And we're not going to step through all of this, but sentences can be rewarded or penalized, but they can also have no effect on the score. And we'll see a couple examples of that until we run out of time. Here's one. This report describes the operational capabilities and scientific findings of the Voyager probes in interstellar space. That is straight from the report request. We don't have to cite that. This is basically just saying you have to cite the document right. Any sentence is not assessed is penalized. This is an important one. This says that sentences that are not otherwise penalized or rewarded and that properly cite a supporting document do not affect the score. So this is sort of like in a prime measure when you ignore the things that have not been judged. Okay? And we want to do this because the opinion of the assessor as to what goes into the report is not necessarily going to agree with the generator. So we don't want to penalize the generator for inserting something in a report that could be relevant, but just the assessor didn't pick it. So that's that. One, we have to then put these sentence scores together. Folks around here tend to like precision recall. Precision can be calculated on sentences because we've scored each sentence. But it cannot be calculated on the nuggets because we don't have a score for each of the nuggets. Recall can be calculated on the nuggets because we have a particular set of nuggets and we can tell how many of them have been found. But it can't on the sentences because there is no canonical set of sentences, right? There could be many sentences that map to a given nugget. Anyway, that's just a point about how we score it. We are doing a pilot of this at Trek Nuclear, and it's a report generation task. If you go there, you can find out all about it. It's still open. There's time to get in. If you have a RAG system and you want to participate, but you are missing some piece, let one of us know, one of the authors of this paper know, and we'll set you up with what you need. And we'd love to see your participation. The best system at the evaluation is going to write the track overview paper. Okay, thank you.